His Excellency Consul General and Mrs. Yorulmazlar, distinguished members of the Turkish community, dear ladies and esteemed members of the press, I would like to welcome you all to the Consulate General of Turkey, your home. Today, we are honored to host a group of distinguished Turkish women from all walks of life. First, we will have a short panel with the kind contributions of three esteemed ladies who have done exemplary journeys in the United Kingdom. Following the panel, we will have a reception. Now, let me invite our Consul General and then Mrs. Yorulmazlar to make their welcoming speeches.
Esteemed members of the Turkish community, dear ladies, guests and esteemed members of the press. Actually, I have an official speech here, but I feel very lucky among so many amazing women today. I want to congratulate the Women's Day of everybody here, and I want to welcome you to your home, to the Consulate General of Turkey. Today, we are honored to host a distinguished group of women from the Turkish community living in Britain to congratulate the Women's Day. I cannot wait to hear the exemplary life journeys of three unique women in the panel today. I know you will all find commonalities with your own experiences. Before we go to the panel, let me briefly underline two things. First, I would like to underline the social role of women in the good of our community. We need more active involvement of women in education, business, politics, and social responsibility projects. Among others, education should be a primary mission for us all, where we need women to educate themselves and our younger generations. Second, yet again the crucial role of Turkish community living abroad as representatives of Turkey and the countries they are living in. On that note, I believe that our diaspora has a double mission. We need your engagement to bridge our two countries. To that end, you need to have the perfect blend of Turkish and British cultures. I believe you will be the ones who can bring our two countries together, and your presence in Britain is an invaluable asset for both countries. The audience here has much experience and many innovative thoughts about how to make this work, how to move forward. I hope today's gathering will help us all to advance our dialogue and cooperation in that sense. I once again thank you all for joining us today. Bu duygularla hepinizi en derin sevgi ve saygılarımla bir kez daha selamlıyorum. Hepinize bir kez daha hoş geldiniz diyorum. Kadınlar Gününüz kutlu olsun. Kadınlarımızla bir arada olmaya devam edeceğiz. Bugüne kadar yaptığımız tüm faaliyetlerde kadınlarımızı görmek beni çok gerçekten onurlandırdı. Kadınlarımızın İngiltere'deki toplumun her anlamda liderlik rolunu üstlendiklerini, sivil toplum faaliyetlerinde başat rol aldıklarını bizzat müşahede ettim. Bu anlamda bir kez daha kendilerine teşekkür ediyorum. Bugün buraya geldiğiniz için bir kez daha teşekkür ediyorum. Hepinize sevgi ve saygılarımı sunuyorum.
Esteemed members of the Turkish community in Britain, dear guests, ladies, and esteemed members of the press. We are honored and delighted to have you here at the Turkish Consulate General to celebrate the Women's Day. It's an honor for me to address such a distinguished audience today. When do you think the idea of the Women's Day first got started? It was in 1909 in Copenhagen. Women from 17 countries launched the idea of an international day to support the women's rights. This year marks the 105th anniversary of the International Women's Day. Over the years, many things have changed for women in the world. Likewise, Turkey has also put in place mechanisms to ensure that women are at the center of socioeconomic life and to improve women's participation in decision-making process. We broke the barriers, and today there are women among us from all walks of life who have become successful businesswomen, academicians, artists, government officials who produce and contribute to the society at the highest levels. They are respected, and we should keep in mind that as a country we all benefit from their services, intelligence and creativity. As once Marilyn Monroe said, "Give a girl the right shoes and she can conquer the world." Yet there is still a long path to go. We all know that today there are numerous women who have sacrificed their lives for their families and loved ones. They provide the hardest service. Mothers and housewives are the only workers who can even never get vacation, let alone payment. They contribute greatly to their country and their families, yet their efforts are left invisible and undervalued. I want to emphasize that without their efforts, society wouldn't be where it is today. They are the backbones of the society. Unfortunately, there are also women who are not among us anymore. They fell victim to torture, rape, murder, and whatnot. There are many cases of violence against women all around the world, manifesting itself in different ways, including emotionally, physically, sexually, and economically. Yet no living being deserves such brutal violence, let alone women. This is above all a cultural issue which entails a social and political mentality shift. Perpetrators of such crimes have to be assured that they will not only be prosecuted appropriately, but will also be ostracized by the society. We also know that there are men who condemn such violence and stand behind their wives, sisters, mothers, neighbors, and friends. We want to believe that this will come to an end. This can only be achieved with strong partnerships between women and men at all levels, and most importantly, in the field of education, and again, education. First and foremost, it's the parents' and especially women's responsibility to raise their sons' awareness against violence. We need to teach them what Prophet Muhammad once said, "I command you to treat women kindly." I extend my best wishes to you all for a happy Women's Day, and thank you to those who try to advance the cause of women. I call upon all women and men to work together in partnership in order to address the challenge of gender inequality and violence against women. Thank you.
Now I would like to give the stage to Mrs. Ayşegül Osmanoğlu. Mrs. Osmanoğlu is the daughter of Osman Selahattin Osmanoğlu. She holds a master's degree in Ottoman history, and now she is running a property business. The stage is yours.
İyi akşamlar. Good evening, everybody. Firstly, I would like to apologize for making this speech to you in English. I would have liked to have made it in Turkish. Yavaş yavaş Türkçe öğreniyorum. Maalesef I'm not yet proficient enough in Turkish to express myself to you how I would like, so please forgive me. I was very honoured to have been asked to address you this evening to speak about my views on the role of Turkish women in society, and also to share some of my own personal experiences with you. I am conscious that the issue of women's rights and equality is very much current and has become a topic of much recent political debate. Although I do not feel it appropriate for me to enter this arena of political debate, I hope you will find some of my personal thoughts and feelings of interest. It is sad that even though we live in the supposedly enlightened and modern times of the 21st century, the struggle for gender equality is still an unsolved issue in today's society. In Turkey, it is certainly true that gender equality remains elusive. Turkish women and girls still have lower literacy levels than men and boys, and statistics show a higher percentage leave school earlier and do not go on to higher education. The levels of women participating in the economy by being active members of Turkey's workforce have been declining over recent years. Women also continue to be underrepresented in both local and central governmental positions. Turkish women endure forced marriages, are victims of honour killings, suffer attacks of domestic violence, and are victims of sexual harassment and rape. With the recent and tragic case of the rape and murder of Özgecan Aslan, we have been reminded of how real and prevalent this problem is. The outpouring of anger seen in Turkish towns and cities and across numerous social media sites will hopefully lead to a firmer stance being taken against perpetrators of crimes against women, crimes that can never be justified or condoned. I trust, hope and pray that this will be a catalyst for change, which will see confidence increase in the justice system, encouraging more women to report violations and abuses made against them, and for those crimes to be appropriately punished, ultimately leading to the fall of future atrocities. However, it is important to remember and acknowledge that these are not just Turkish problems. Neither are they solely problems faced by women living in Islamic societies, as is often intimated. These problems are an international issue which are faced by women from all societies, living in all countries across the globe. Events such as this evening, organised to mark International Women's Day, will hopefully highlight this global problem and bring the plight of women's rights to the attention of the governments of the world. As guests of the Turkish Consul General and his wife, it would also be appropriate to reflect on what Turkey has achieved in terms of addressing the international problem of realising gender equality. I would like to begin with Ottoman times, but whilst the Ottoman Empire was a religious pluralist state, it was a state built on an Islamic heritage. As such, I would like to firstly go back to the real beginning, to Khadija, the first wife of the Prophet Muhammad. She was a successful businesswoman, a merchant who owned large profitable trade caravans and who employed the Prophet Muhammad to work for her. He respected her independence, her success and her dedication to charitable causes. Khadija was also the mother to the Prophet's children. Aisha, the third wife of the Prophet Muhammad, was acknowledged as having great intellect. She bore the Prophet no children, but was actively involved in politics and exerted much political influence. She debated issues of law, she even rode into battle, and she established a madrasa to further the education of women. Both women were greatly admired and respected at the time, and I believe that both are relevant examples to modern Turkish women, modern Muslim women, in fact to all women. They both made choices, to be a mother or not to be a mother, to be involved with business or to be engaged in politics, to do charitable works or to encourage education. They were able to make these choices because they themselves were well educated and they had the support and respect of their husband and their families. Education is so important. Without it, life is so much darker. Education and knowledge leads to respect and toleration, which in turn brings equality, whether that be religious, racial or sexual equality. All are of equal importance and relevance to ensure a safe and harmonious and modern society. Such belief in tolerance and equality was a keystone to the greatness and longevity of the Ottoman Empire. Over the centuries, this policy expanded and improved to encompass women. In spite of numerous misconceptions, women were highly valued and respected by Ottoman society. In the 16th and 17th centuries, the empire was effectively ruled by the Sultanate of women, during which time the wives, daughters and sisters of the Sultan's harem were active in participating in decisions of state. The Tanzimat era during the 19th century led to the westernisation and modernisation of the empire, and perhaps it can be said to the emergence of feminism within the empire too. There was a greater participation in public life by women at this time, which resulted in the emergence of a number of female writers, journalists and teachers. The education reforms of 1869 provided for compulsory free education at all levels and contributed to giving women access to a university education. This laid the foundations for Turkish women to become part of the modern age of knowledge. Perhaps one of the last contributions made by the Ottoman government to address women's rights was in 1917, when a new law was introduced to restrict polygamy and prohibit child marriages. The imperial family and many other prominent families tried to set an example by ensuring that their daughters all received a thorough and comprehensive modern education similar to their sons. Many became accomplished poets, writers, artists or composers. Others gave patronage to pious and charitable foundations and worked tirelessly for the public good, such as Adile Sultan, who bequeathed her Bosphorus palace at Kandili to become one of the first girls' secondary schools in the Ottoman Empire. Some decided to adopt a modern way of dressing, while others preferred the traditional manner. The important point is that in this period of change and reform, the women were allowed to make their own choices, supported by their families, and were treated with respect and given a considerable amount of personal freedoms for the times. Of course, there were obvious limitations, but it must be remembered that the Ottoman era was a time before women anywhere had achieved any semblance of equality in the eyes of the law, no matter which country or continent they lived in. The end of World War I brought about drastic change in the world order, and it would bring a natural change to Turkey too. That said, the aforementioned modernising efforts made during the late Ottoman Empire lay the foundations for the Turkish people of the Republican era to embrace the westernization program that had begun in the 19th century, including the continuation of addressing female equality. The first wave of organised feminism came in the 1930s and was rewarded with universal suffrage being granted in 1934, before Belgium, before France, before Italy and Switzerland, and only a few years after the United States and the UK. Women's rights were addressed and many changes in law were made. A second wave of feminism came in the 1980s, and women's rights were further protected in law to protect women and promote the equality of the sexes, and measures were also taken to improve education for girls. Turkey voted for Tansu Çiller as the first female Prime Minister in 1993, and it should be noted that many more supposedly liberal and democratic countries are still waiting to have a female head of government, such as the United States, Austria, Spain, Italy. Turkey was also the first country to appoint a female president of its constitutional court, when Tülay Türkçü became Chief Justice of Turkey in 2005. Controversially, the government has lifted the ban on wearing the headscarf, which I personally see as a progressive move and not a regressive one. It is not something to fear, and it is not a threat to secularism. In a truly democratic country, people should be allowed the freedom to dress as they choose without being dictated to by the state. For these steps forward, I feel Turkey should be duly proud. Obviously, more steps forward towards real gender equality, personal freedoms and individual choice for women are certain, and more steps forward will surely come. I have also been asked to share with you some of my own personal experiences of my life here in England. I have done nothing particularly special or unique with my life, but I have found a real contentment and happiness, which I hope all of you enjoy too. I was born in Henley, Oxfordshire, at a time when my family was sadly still living in enforced exile. My father, as has been said earlier, is Osman Salahuddin Osmanoğlu. He is the great-grandson of Sultan Murad V and of Sultan Mehmed Reshad. I am his eldest child and his only daughter, and I have two younger brothers. I have lived in England all my life, but I certainly do not feel English in any way, although I do feel grateful to England for allowing my family to live here when we were not allowed to live in our own homeland. My father brought me up to feel extremely proud of my Ottoman heritage and my Turkish roots, and when I was young, he spent a lot of time teaching me about our history and of my family in the empire. The deep pride I now have is a result of this. I remember the first time I visited Istanbul. I went with my father, grandfather and grandmother, the year we were first allowed to return to Turkey in 1974. When I look at the cine film we took of that visit, I always feel very emotional when I see how truly happy my father and particularly my grandparents looked to be home in Istanbul. My grandmother once told me that when she went into exile, her soul remained in Turkey. Living in exile broke their hearts and they really did suffer greatly. My school days were quite difficult for me. Sadly, I was not always very happy. I was made to feel very different to the other girls in school. I was the only Turkish girl and I was also the only Muslim girl. No one could pronounce my name. Many teased me about my religion, and I had to endure a lot of snide comments about Turkey and Turkish people. Despite this, I worked as hard as I could. I was determined to make my parents proud of me, and I understood the importance of education in today's society. I studied history, politics and French at A-level, and then I went to Exeter University where I got a combined honours degree in history and politics. I focused my studies on Eastern Mediterranean history as I wanted to learn more about the Ottoman Empire. I believe this was also the university that President Abdullah Gül attended. After Exeter, I went to SOAS in London, where I read a master's degree in Turkish and Ottoman studies. My thesis was the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate inevitable? And I argued it was not. My father insisted that I got a good education, and to that end he did all he could to support me in my studies. Studying at university placed a real financial strain on my father, and my parents sacrificed much to ensure that my two brothers and I received the best possible education available. And for me, and for that, I will be eternally grateful to both of them. They never treated me differently to my brothers because I was a girl. I was always given the same freedoms, opportunities and respect as my brothers were shown. By giving me the valuable gift of a full and excellent education, My family have enabled me and encouraged me to always make my own decisions and to take the paths I choose myself in life. For this I know I am very lucky. After completing my master's degree, I married my husband, who I had met at Exeter University. We have now been happily married for over 20 years. Like my father, he supports me in all I want to do and encourages me to follow my dreams. Together we have built up a property business that we started while both still students at Exeter. Our first project involved developing houses to rent out to students. We developed accommodation for 150 students in 3 different university cities and then sold them to concentrate on other projects. We have since undertaken over 100 further property projects, such as developing, owning and operating hotels, restoring and renovating historic listed buildings and converting them into apartments, and creating a serviced apartment business with 700 apartments currently under management. I generally work on the design specifications and interior design of our projects, but I'm involved in other areas of the business too, such as marketing. My real passion though is history. I'm currently researching the Gallipoli campaign. As I'm sure you all know, it is the centenary this year, and I'm eager to learn more about it. This campaign was perhaps the last great victory of the Imperial Ottoman Army. I'm deeply humbled by the incredible bravery and courage of the Ottoman soldiers who fought on the peninsula, indeed of all the men who fought for the empire in the First World War, including my great-uncle, General Prince Osman Fuad Efendi, who was Commander-in-Chief of Ottoman forces in Tripolitania. They fought, bled and died for their Padishah and Caliph in defence of their empire and to protect their homeland, and they should always be remembered. I am so proud of their loyalty and forever grateful for the sacrifices they made to ensure the survival of modern Turkey. My greatest achievement and pride, though, are my 5 beautiful children. I am blessed with 4 sons and a daughter. Being a mother to my wonderful children brings me great happiness and a fulfilment I never experienced while studying or in my professional life. I always dreamed of being a mother, and for me, I truly believe that the daily joys and challenges of being one is simply the greatest miracle and gift of all. My concluding message is that we are all different, but we are all equal. Through education, we can all learn to be more tolerant, understanding and accepting of each other, regardless of race, creed, colour, religion or sex. Education can also teach us to respect and accept how others choose to live their lives and stop us from judging people for the choices they make. We must all show more tolerance, more empathy and compassion, and more kindness to everyone we meet to make this world that we all share a better place. But before we can expect men and society as a whole to accept and respect our freedom of choice, we must first be able to do so ourselves. Women must support each other. We as women already face enough obstacles and challenges in our lives that the support of other women in the choices that we each make is so important. We must all remember that a woman should be able to choose for herself whether she wants to be a mother or not. She should be allowed to choose to have a career or not, and she should be supported if she chooses to try to juggle her life so that she can try and do both. She should be allowed to wear a fashionable dress or skirt without being seen as promiscuous and immodest, and she should be allowed to wear a headscarf without being seen as conservative or as a religious extremist. We must not judge each other, but should accept and respect each other's personal choices. I simply believe that every woman should receive a good education to enable her to make her own informed decisions in life so that she can truly enjoy a freedom of choice, fully supported by her family and by society. To end, I would like to quote my namesake, Ayşegül Yorulmazların, the first ever female Ottoman schoolteacher, who said that the real measure of civilization is the level of education received by women in society, for they determine the upbringing of our nation's children. If we can achieve this, we can achieve change. And I'm sure that everyone here this evening would agree with these wise and perceptive words. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope I've not talked for too long. I think I may have. You now know something about me and about some of my thoughts and beliefs, and I look forward to meeting many of you and getting to know you a little during the course of this evening.
Now I kindly invite Mrs. Suna Hürman. Mrs. Hürman is, as known, one of the young Turkish politicians in the United Kingdom, and she was recently elected as a councillor in the borough of Enfield.
Thank you very much. I would like to say thank you for inviting us tonight. And it's amazing to see so many role models here. I think that shows how well we're doing. A man of women here that role models, and I just want to say I'm so proud of all of you, because end of the day, my main concern is women should know what they're talking about. Women should know their rights. Women should know their rights in every sentence. It doesn't matter if they're wives, if they're working, if they're students. Women should know where they're standing. I mean, I'm not going to be talking as long. I just want to pick on my experience in UK. I mean, I've been in this country since 1991. I came here when I was 12. My parents were here 5 years before me. And when I got to this country, I didn't speak a word of English. And my parents didn't know, even if they were here 5 years before me, they still didn't know a word of English. So with my poor English accent, I had to go and translate for my family. And I know my parents were facing so many issues where when they go to GP, they didn't even have a chance to expand what their problem was. So I know they had so many health issues. I know my parents had money issues. I mean, I'm an Alevi, I've got an Alevi background, and unfortunately we're not recognised in Turkey, and I'm proudly to see we're recognised here in the UK and recognised by Turkish consulate. It's very proud to say. But the women were facing so many issues in the 1990s. There were educational issues, there were work issues, so many Turkish women who came to this country in 1990, they didn't have jobs because they didn't have any language, they couldn't expand themselves. So most of them were working in factories and they couldn't support their children. I mean, I can't remember many of parents going to parents' evenings due to the language barrier. They couldn't support their children's education. They couldn't socialise because all their care was at that moment was to earn money and they were going to go back home to be able to live happily. But did it happen? No, it's 2015 and we're still here. I mean, woman is very, very important with the education. I think if you educated, you would know where you're standing. You would know how to educate your children as well. So in UK, most importantly, educating mothers who doesn't speak English, it's very important. I think we should work very closely with the mothers who's having educational English barriers, that they can't communicate, they can't even go to their children's parents' evening. That's one of my main issues that I will be bringing it to politics as well. I will be bringing it to council as well. And one of the other issues is, I think educating man is one of the main issues as well. I think man don't understand what women are going through. Yes, man is supporting women. I mean, there's exceptionals. I do understand it, but they need to be able to understand what women are going through. Working women have to be at the home, cooking, cleaning, looking after their children. But is this the same scenario with the man? Unfortunately, it isn't. So I think educating a man to learn what women are going through is one of the main issues. Yes, it is said that, yeah, women are getting fairly treated, women are out there bringing their voices, but I think to bring that more, we need to get women more involved in politics. We need to get more women involved in businesses. We need to get women more involved in every sector that needs to be, because unless we bring our voice out, I don't personally believe a man would. So that's one of my issues that I want to bring up today. I just want to talk a little about myself as well. I'm married, I'm happily married with 2 kids. I'm a Barclays, I shouldn't advertise it, but yeah, I'm a business manager for the last 10 years. I'm also a counsellor. The problems I've been facing is with the kids, supporting the kids, it's the time consuming, I think. Having enough time for your children, having enough time for your partner, having enough time for your parents. I mean, it is time consuming as well. It's not just about, yes, as women we're strong, we can handle everything, but we can't actually handle everything without the sport. I think the main thing is getting that sport. I think with the social societies giving that sport to women, having enough carers, I mean, the carers for the children as well. We need to organise childcare, enough childcare for children so women can actually study, have enough time for themselves, having therapies for women. I think with my experience in the council, I'm seeing quite a few women coming through to the council having problems with their family, but they can't speak to anyone because they haven't got any, they don't know where to go because they don't know their rights. I think that's the main issue, education, knowing your rights and knowing your voting rights and getting more involved in politics and having more role models like yourselves in the... Oh, got stuck there, yeah. So having more role models, that's the main thing I want to pick on today. Thank you very much and happy Women's Day, everyone. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Mrs. Zeynep Turidi. Mrs. Turidi is one of the most successful Turkish women entrepreneurs in United Kingdom. She will tell us about her life journey in Britain. The stage is yours.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. I just would like to start off by saying every one of us in this room, we are all unique, just like our fingerprint is. Just a thought on that. My name is Zeynep Turidi. I've got five. I'm one of five. My parents have been here 45 years in London. And my mum always said to us, they're all different, they're all different, they're all different. So I thought, okay, we're all different, so I can be naughty, I don't have to be like my brother, I don't have to be like my sister. But she kind of supported us that we were all different, and she didn't compare us. So as I kind of had my education while I was studying computer science engineering, I decided I should kind of be in a manager's role because I couldn't really tell. I didn't want lecturers telling me what to do, so I thought I need to be a manager to tell everyone what to do. So I applied for, in those days, applied for, like Debenhams, it was co-op stores, homeworld stores. I don't know if anyone remember those days. It was called living or homeworld stores. So I applied, out of 3,000 applicants, I got through for the first 5. So I kind of did my training for 2 years to become a store manager for all of those departments. And once I did that, I was offered a great job. I was only 22 at the time, on £35,000 a year. I was like, my family said, yes, you're secure forever. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. I just got experience in how to manage people and how to manage departments, and there's 18 departments. And then I thought, no, I wanted my family first while I was young. So I had my family, I stayed home, and I had my 2 lovely children, and while I was kind of hyper, I said I need to convert my garage into an office and start my business, because I wanted to see some Turkish delight in the UK market, because there was nothing available then those days, because they used to say to my mum and dad, where'd you get all these nice Turkish delight from? Years ago. We can't get hold of them, other than the ethnic stores, yes. So I was sitting at home looking after my babies. After 7 p.m, I'm free while they're in bed. So I said I can start my company by bringing in Turkish delight. I had no idea what I was into, got myself into. So I decided to, I didn't even like the product to start with. I just knew there was a demand for it through my parents. So I said, okay, we need some Turkish delight suppliers. I went to go and see some. A big brand, I won't name and shame them. They said to me, because I was a young girl, they said, are you going to sell Turkish delight to England? Go and buy some samples from downstairs. They didn't believe in me. I said, fine, done all my homework. So I went to the second manufacturing company, and they said, okay, young girl, all enthusiastic about Turkish delight product here. And I said, I'm going to sell it all into the UK market. I'm going to go wild, but we need to change the packaging. They didn't. He told me later that he didn't really believe me, but really didn't want to say no to me. So he kind of went along with me. So I said, okay, so how do we start? I didn't even know how to import the product. I didn't know what certifications were required. So this is what I did all my time after 7 p.m. when the kids were in bed. Cut a long story short, it's been 12 years now, and just last year I've sold, alone in the UK, 500,000 boxes of Turkish delight. And that's just in the UK market, not in the ethnic market. So we export to about 15 countries around the world. We're still growing, and I kind of got didn't get bored with that, but that was like done and dusted now. So I need another baby. So my new baby was, not a child baby, sorry, I'm calling my products babies because I create them. So I have another company, which is Mystique Spa, and we kind of we produce body care products. So instead of going to a spa, because I'm a busy mum, can't go to a spa, but I don't mind buying the products in my house and use them on me. So this was my other company, is my other company, and while being involved with all of these going on, I kind of nicely got awarded a few awards. And then I was invited by the White House, Barack Obama. He wanted some entrepreneurs from all around the world to introduce USA to us, basically. So I represented the UK, and there was 33 countries from all around the world, and we won a free program. So we was like Zeynep Trudy, United Kingdom. So we all had our badges because we all from 33 different countries. But when I always stood up and I said, I'm Zeynep Trudy, I'm representing the UK, but I'm actually Turkish. Because they're like, Zeynep, it's not an English name. But no, I said, I'm Turkish, but I'm here representing England. And they were like, wow, no one's kind of done this, you know, but it's kind of very different what's going on here. Didn't realise it then. And they said, oh, how is it, lots of questions, oh, how is it being like a Turkish woman entrepreneur representing the UK? Never had thought about it actually until they asked me the question. I'm just a human being. You know, it's just me. You know, I've got arms and legs and a brain, you know, just like anybody else has. Maybe we're all just different, and we just kind of express our feelings in a different way, do things in a different way. And after the 3 weeks was over, thanks God for Skype, because I was Skyping my kids every night, well, in the morning or every night, depending on the time frame. After the 3 weeks was over, the US government offered us to live in the US, gave us free offices, gave us all the opportunities that we would love to have, but none of us took it. Because we wanted to come back to our own country and serve our own country. The reason why I'm doing Turkish Light is because if I'm going to do any good, if I'm going to do any business in England while my family's here, even if it's a penny, I want it to be gained. I want Turkey to gain any penny from me rather than any other. It's kind of, it feels like this is my role, this is my responsibility, because my parents have always raised us. You're Turkish, you're Turkish, you're Turkish. Yes, you're British, you might be born here, you might be raised here, but don't forget your roots, because your roots make who you are. Going back to England, my parents have always said, oh, you're going, what do you know about Turkish Delight? You don't know anything about body care products or massaging candles, or go back to doing your safe job. And I said, no, this is me. You remember you said, we're all different. I'm different. You are all different. Just wanted to leave that. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank our panelists for their precious contributions. And I kindly invite our Consul General and Mrs. Yorulmazlar to present small gifts to our panelists.
Before we wind up, let me say a few things about the panel. I am really thankful to their experiences and ideas. As you see, I mean, one of the problems in the United Kingdom about the Turkish community, actually, I don't want to say anything about the group here, but it's about self-esteem. As you see, the Turkish women here have maybe robust kind of self-esteem, and they have been very successful in their own journeys. So I just want to maybe emulate this and maybe diffuse this in the community, so that the Turkish community here is going to success at the end of the day. Thank you very much for your contributions today. We were really delighted to hear your experiences, and thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Şöyle bir toplu fotoğraf alabilir miyiz? Evet. Efendim, işte ortaya yan mı oluyor aslında? Biraz geriye çıkalım.
Bak sandalyeler çıkacak.
Yok, şunu al. Ben alacağım. Ama şey kalmadı. Hediyeler olsa daha iyi değil mi?